All right, so we're going to go through some questions like Chapter 7, and whenever we are going through these, we are going to first decide which variable we would use as an explanatory variable, which one we would use a response variable, and why, and then what we would expect the scatter plot to look like, and then lastly discuss the form, direction, and strength. So if you are comparing apples, the weight in gram and the weight in ounces, do one of those things depend on the other one to happen? Do you guys think? So do you guys think that one depends on the other, or is it a direct correlation? If you're comparing the weight in grams to the weight in ounces, what do you guys think?
I don't know, I don't know. Because they're different, like, weight measurements, but also if one's so many grams, it's this number in ounces, but if it wasn't this in grams, it would be a different number in ounces, you know?
But do you think, like, can I have 2 apples weighing in at, I don't know, I don't even know what an apple would weigh in grams, I'm just making up a random number. So if I had 2 apples that both weighed, let's say, 32 grams, are they going to have a different weight in ounces, or is that a directly proportional relationship? It's going to be directly proportional. So if you guys had to take a guess of what that scatter plot would look like, and I'll say, does this show up any better? This is just a mess, but this has to work for them.
I cannot see that at all.
You guys would be crazy to see what I can see on my screen. It looks way better on my screen than it does on the projector.
Yeah, I cannot at all. It was okay.
All right, let's try it with the lights out again.
Yeah. When the light was
Will, help me out.
turn the light on.
Better?
Oh, so
Yeah.
much.
Okay, so if we wanted these to be directly proportional to each other, and on this one, it really doesn't matter which one's the explanatory variable and which one is the response variable. And the reason why is the weight in one measurement doesn't depend on the other one. Since this one, it could go back and forth either way. It really doesn't matter which one that you put. So it does not matter as long as you have something like this. First of all, we would never ever have a negative weight measurement, correct? That's why we can set up a scatter plot with just positive x and y axis. All right, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to put weight in grams down here and weight in ounces on my y axis. And if you had those flip-flopped, it's going to look the exact same way. So we just answered the part A. Which one would you use as an explanatory variable? Which one would you use as a response variable, and why? This one, the answer is it doesn't matter which one goes where. Now, what would you expect to see the scatter plot look like? What's going to happen to the weight in ounces if it goes up in grams? So if the weight increases in grams, what's going to happen to the weight in ounces? All right, it's going to increase. So do you guys all agree that it would start here, right? Somewhere. And then just over time, as the grams increased, so would the ounces. There would be a direct proportional relationship. And you're not going to have anything scattered here, because you're not going to have, like, let's just say whatever this weight is. If you have a specific weight in grams, you're not going to have, if you have 3 apples that all weigh the same amount in grams, they're not going to give you a different measurement in ounces. So you're not going to have like those crazy points that are like off of the trend line. So you're going to have a trend line looking exactly like this. So what would the direction be here? Is it positive, negative? What would you say for the direction there? The direction is positive. All right, what would you say about the form? Is this linear or not linear? All right, definitely linear. All right, and then what would you say about the strength? Strong, weak? All right, so the strength, we would say, and honestly, we could say on this one, we could say even extremely strong. And why do you think we can say extremely strong here? Yeah, there's absolutely no scatters. So this one is extremely strong. Now, if I had you guys, what would you guess this correlation coefficient to be if 100% of the dots are on the trend line? What's the strongest strength that you can have? 1. The correlation coefficient here would be an absolute positive 1 because 100% of the dots are on the trend line. Now, the second question is a little bit different on this one. All right, we are comparing gasoline on the second example. The number of miles that you drove since filling up and the gallons remaining in your tank. So if we wanted to make a scatter plot like this, do you think it matters on this one? Which one would you put on the x-axis? The miles driven or the gallons of gas remaining? The miles driven. All right, so on this one, your explanatory variable, which always goes on the x-axis, is your miles driven. And then your response, which is on your y-axis, is the gallons remaining. All right, and we don't have to put labels like as far as like units, but we would just label miles driven on my x-axis, and we would have gallons remaining here. Now, what type of correlation do you think this is going to look like? Positive. What's going to happen to your gas as you drive? Is the amount of gas remaining in your tank going to increase or decrease? Yeah, it's going to decrease. So you're going to start with so many gallons, and then over time you're going to drive, and then at some point in time you're eventually going to run out of gas. Now on this one, you can have a little bit of scatter. What would be some reasons why you're not going to have perfect answers?
If you're driving on the highway or in town.
Okay.
Speed you're going.
All right, so a car, depending on if you're driving on the highway or in town, gets different gas mileage. How many of you guys on your vehicles have it? It tells you on your dash like how many miles per gallon you're getting. Does anybody's?
I don't think mine does actually.
Yeah, say.
I know what you're talking about though.
But a lot of cars will tell you like as you're driving what kind of gas mileage you're getting. Definitely you do much better on the highway versus in town because the stop and go. So just depending on where you're at, also, you know, on that last example, every apple's weight in grams is going to have the equal amount of weight in ounces. Do you guys think that my van and Zach's truck get the same gas mileage? Definitely not at all. All right, Lexi's car probably gets way better gas mileage than my van because she's got itty bitty car. So on this, different vehicles, even though you're all, like, let's say we all drove, if we all drove 100 miles, we would all use different amounts of gasoline. So, I mean, it's relatively going to be on point, but you're going to have like your Priuses get really good gas mileage, and then you're going to have things like big trucks get less gas mileage. So, you know, these up here would be your more efficient vehicles. These would be your less efficient vehicles if you're below the line. But overall, as everybody drives, we're all using gas. We're just using it at different rates. So if we wanted to talk about our direction here, I think we're all very clear that that's a negative direction. And I think that we can say that our form here is linear. Now, what about our strength?
Like relative strong.
Say if you guys wanted to say strong, moderately strong, we're just not as, on that last example, we were 100% certain, like it was extremely strong. This one, just as long as you are saying strong, or if you even say relatively strong, that's okay. All right, and then I feel like we kind of answered part C. So on part C, it's asking us which scatter plot would be stronger, the apples or the gasoline, and why. So what were some of those things we just said why the gasoline graph didn't what were some factors that kept us from making that a perfect line? Jacob, what was your first answer?
You drive on the highway in town.
All right, highway versus town on our gas mileage. All right, what was another factor that we said had an effect on the gas mileage, making it...
7 miles per gallon.
All right, different vehicles. Get a different miles per gallon on the cars. So, we're not all driving in the same location. We might be driving different vehicles. That's really the two things that make that one not as strong as the apple. So, on this one, we would definitely say the apple's graph is stronger. All right, so I will tell you, you will have one question like this on your quiz on Friday. You won't have to draw two graphs. I will just give you one scenario that you will have to do a graph. And I will tell you, I will probably get it from the Chapter 7 homework. And I will be giving those back to you on Thursday. I'll say I won't see you tomorrow. But definitely I'm going to be picking one of those. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the second page. All right, so I feel like we did this, honestly, I think we did this exact same one together when we did the Chapter 7 notes. All right, so I am giving you 4 different correlation coefficients, and you are trying to match them to the graphs. All right, give me just a second. All right, I can see this on my graph. Can you guys see up there? All right, so out of all of these, are there any of them that you're absolutely certain the correlation coefficients? All right, what do you think B is? All right, so if you guys look here, would you guys say that this is a super strong negative correlation? And so we want the one that's closest to -1. So I agree that that's probably a safe bet of saying that that's the -0.956. You think C is the other negative one? Yeah, because A and D are definitely positive. So I think that that's a good assumption to say that's -0.014. And that's also the one that's closest to 0, right? I think that's fair. All right, now what about A and D? One is 0.75 and the other one is 0.967. I'm going to say, which one do you guys think goes with which? Which one do you think is stronger, A or D? I'm going to say A is stronger. It definitely, even though these points in D are very close together, the fact that A is straighter and has no curve to it really definitely makes this one stronger. So this would be the 0.967 and this would be the 0.751. 100% guarantee that you're going to have a matching correlation coefficient graph on your quiz. All right, now I'm going to give you guys a chance to read the two problems on number 3. They are both really bad explanations. And I want you to tell me why they're wrong.
They're the worst kind of questions.
All right, so on the very first one, it says, my very weak of negative 0.972 shows there's almost no association between GDP and infant mortality rate. And the second one says there was a very strong correlation of 1.22 between life expectancy and GDP. Why will that not focus? You know, say, what do you guys think's wrong with A?
0.972 is a strong correlation, not a weak correlation.
Okay, if it's a negative 0.972, and again, this is already, it shows up really well on my screen, not so much on yours.
Are you
But-
like actually recording something
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, I'm talking.
They can hear you.
Yeah, they can hear you.
Because I heard you on the videos, and then she called on Lexi, and you can barely hear Lexi, and then you just hear Jacob start laughing.
All right, so
What you were saying, just you laughing.
all right, so guys, negative 0.972. All right, is that number strong or weak? All right, this actually represents a strong negative correlation. So this part right here where it says no association, that's the part that's wrong. So this one actually means it is a strong negative association. Now what's wrong with part B?
Can't go over 1.
All right, it can't go over 1. All right, so the 1.22 is incorrect. And the reason why it has correlation is between, I can't spell, -1 and +1. So it's got to be between those numbers. You're not going to have anything beyond 1, anything beyond -1. You know, say I can't say there's going to be 2 questions, but I might have a mistake in there and have you describe it. What do you guys think so far?
Do you want us to like circle or underline or whatever what's wrong in it, or?
It would probably help if you guys tell me what part you think it's wrong and like writing what. If you want to circle it, but if you explain it in words, I'm not going to like mark it wrong if you don't circle it. As long as you're telling me what is wrong and what it should say, I'm okay with that. All right, so guys, we are almost finished, so we just have one more page left. All right, so I really like this question. Now, on these, you might list one, but you could also list more than one here. All right, if you guys had to pick out of these 4 graphs, which one or which graph or graphs show little or no association? Now say, I see an association in 2. It's positive.
Yeah, I'm saying 1 and 4.
You know, say the most scattered is 4. I
Do we
agree.
have to do 2 or just doesn't matter? Do
You
we
don't
have
have
2
to
for each?
list 2.
Oh. I'd probably on a test just put number 4.
You would put just 4.
Yeah.
Do you know what one I would also accept?
Number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah, that's us.
And the reason why is because you have this positive correlation here, and then this negative correlation here. It almost like cancels each other out and makes it 0. All right, now what would you guys say about negative associations?
3.
3
Oh, I guess 4 is kind of negative.
and 4-ish. I agree.
What about the other half of one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, say, I mean, there is a negative part of 1, but there's also a positive part of 1. So I wouldn't include it on this one. Now, what about linear association? 3
2, I guess.
and maybe 2. Because here we definitely have linear on 3, kind of linear on 2. This one's almost nothing. You know, say, this one here, what's it called? Do you guys remember what kind of functions are a parabola? I'm gonna say, what formula do you use when you're solving those? Starts with a Q. It's quadratic. This one is not linear. This one is actually what we call quadratic.
That was sophomore year. It's too long ago for me to remember.
All right, and then the last one. What one is a very strong association? Hey, what would 4D be? Very strong association. Which one is it? 3. And on that one, I would probably only stick with 3. All right, so this last one, we are going to use your graphing calculator. So if you don't have it out, let's go ahead and get it out. All right, so for question 5, we are moving on to our little movie candy. Example. So we are going to take a look at candy and we're going to compare the sugar content and the calories. Okay, I need to know, what's your favorite Halloween candy? Like, what do you get the most excited about?
Kit Kat.
Sweet tarts.
Sweet tarts, Snickers.
No, but yeah. Well, they get the little, like the little tubes of like.
Okay, let's clarify this a little bit. What chocolate do you guys go for?
Kit Kat.
Snickers, Kit Kats.
I think Twix probably.
Madeline, do you not eat candy?
Heath bars. Heath bars are good.
Oh,
Because they have like peanuts in them. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Gotcha.
Everybody at your lunch table like couldn't bring the food. That
okay.
they
I
wanted
do
to
need
see
to ask
in
if
front
I
of
sell
them.
like I have peanut butter candy bars in here right now. Like, should people not have them in here with
I
you?
mean, they can. Just, I
Also-
can't touch them.
Okay.
Do you have almond candy bars?
No,
Oh.
I have caramel and peanut butter in here right now.
Whenever you get almond ones, let me know and I might buy one. Might. Depends on how I'm
All right,
feeling that
so no All right, does anybody like Milky Ways or is that just me?
day. Milky Ways are
Like,
terrible.
I love Milky Ways. The Milky Way
No,
Simply
no.
Caramels
Those
are even better. Like,
Have
get
you
rid
ever
of the
had-
nougat. Like,
have you ever
The
had like
dark-
the
the
Reese's
dark chocolate
Fast Break
Milky
bars?
The midnight one?
The Reese's.
Yeah.
I don't like the midnight ones. Okay, what's your non-chocolate? Mine's Sweet Tarts.
Sweet tarts, yeah.
Sweet tart. I like anything sweet tarts or like super sour stuff.
Or Nerds. Sweet Tarts and Nerds are my favorite.
You know, like I almost questioned the status of my relationship this weekend. Zach informed me he doesn't like Nerds.
I love
He's
Nerds.
like, I don't like them, and I was like,
I feel like
they're fantastic.
Nerds
Like,
ropes. Nerds ropes are incredible.
I was just like,
You know they have Nerds rope bites now?
Yeah.
And I got some the other day just to try them and they're incredible.
My freaking browns are little
Yeah.
nuts, and I have to
They're very
now.
good.
At homecoming, I ate a Reese's cup and I like touched
You ever had Mountain Dew
his face, and
Voodoo?
he was, like, all in my
No.
It's like a Halloween.
but I will
season.
tell you guys, it is so great being a parent and stealing your kids' Halloween candy when they go to sleep. It's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, what we would do, my sister and I, anytime we would get home trick or treating, we'd sit across the living room, dump our candy on the floor, and trade.
Yeah.
And then if we had anything neither of us wanted, we'd give it to mom. So she'd get all like the sour stuff and like.
Oh, do you want to know Lucy?
The warheads. I always love getting the
Oh.
warheads.
Lucy is so trained. Lucy knows. Like, she just starts handing over Reese's. Like, she doesn't even, like, she's
That's
like,
how my
here you
dad
go, Mom.
is.
Here
We'd
you
always
go. And
give-
I'm like, you
yeah.
are awesome.
We'd always give my dad Reese's. Madeline loves Reese's. You love Reese's.
We always take the candy that we can't eat that we skip.
Okay, what does everybody feel about waffles?
Which is all of it.
Yeah, my brother will write it up and be like, take it since I can't have it. And it's just like all the candy we can't
All right, guys.
But hey, what about Whoppers? What do you think?
I like Whoppers.
I also.
The Whoppers are better with like the candy coating on the outside of them.
No. No way.
Yeah, I like the Robin's Egg ones better than the regular ones. All right, we've got to focus.
The Robin's Egg.
All right, we're
chocolate
almost
things are
done, Jacob.
awesome, though.
Virtual kids, feel free to email me your favorite candy for Halloween.
So we can have another class discussion about it on Thursday. What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Yeah. What are your go-tos? What's your chocolate go-to?
Chocolate. I'm gonna go what I'm pounding right now, which is almond joy.
Yeah.
Okay,
I got some of my drawer to go on it because it was not 50% off the other day.
Jacob, there you go with your almond candy.
I'm not a fan of the coconut.
All right, and then what's your non-candy go-to?
Your non-chocolate.
Or yeah, non-chocolate.
Oh, yeah. Also, what I'm currently pounding, Poland Field Twizzlers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, those are like my
Those ones-
least favorite.
Yeah, those ones are the best Twizzlers.
Hate Twizzlers.
Yeah, I don't like normal Twizzlers, but I do like the Poland Field.
And so mine are Milky Way and Sweet Tarts.
Followed closely by Laffy Taffy.
Banana Laffy Taffy.
Bananas disgusting.
Banana's my favorite.
Yeah, banana everything's the best.
And it contaminates everything in the candy bar. Like the banana just like completes it.
Banana flavored everything's the best flavor.
True.
Popsicles, milkshakes.
Pitch 'em.
No.
Gross, they make everything taste banana-y.
I'm getting my
I don't want my limes tasting like bananas and my oranges tasting like bananas.
We're almost done. We're on our last question. The virtual kids just had to listen to us have a 10-minute conversation about candy. All right, back to math. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a scatter plot. Now, on this one, just based on what you see in the table, which one do you think is going to be, it says use sugar as the explanatory variable. Which axis does that go on? Hey, how do you guys know it goes on the X?
Because the explanatory has the letter X.
Yes, the letter explanatory has the letter X in it, so that goes on the X-axis.
I know there's like actual reason.
I told you that whenever you were freshman Algebra 1.
Oh, I don't
Promise.
No, don't remember that. But
Promise. We did that in Algebra 1. Okay, let's see if we can get this to focus a little better.
I can remember that.
All right, so on this one, you are going to make a scatter plot. All right, so this isn't going to be the greatest scatter plot. All right, what's my lowest sugar content? Is there anything lower than a 44? And then what's our largest? 136? All right, so we're going to cheat. We're going to start at 40. And then we're going to go 60, 80, 100, 120, 140. There's our sugar. All right, then up here we're going to have our calories. All right, what's our lowest amount of calories? 350. And what's our... You see how I made my little squigglies? All right, now what's our highest amount of candy? I got to make sure I have enough room. 790?
Jeez.
All right, so 354, 455, 556, 657, 758. All right, I kind of went off. All right, so I kind of went into my words. If you went into your words, it's okay. You're forgiven. All right, so you guys are going to quickly sketch a scatter plot. Then, if you think I'm going to ask you next to use your calculator to do the least squares regression line, what do you think you should be doing? All right, you're going to put it in the list. So you guys are going to make your scatter plot, and then afterwards you are going to do your stat, and then you're going to edit, and then you're going to be like me and type them all in, which I've already typed them in. And so you should have a graph, which I'm going to turn my stat plot on. Graph, zoom 9. Your scatter plot should look kind of like this once you make it.
I'm just gonna over
Now this scale might be different, so it's not going to look 100% like that, but it should be the right idea. Alright, if you guys can see, I really thought about my scale a lot better this time. You know, so you got to see how bad, look at the first time I did this graph, whenever I did it, look at how bad I was in my words. So, I mean, yeah. It could be worse. Alright, so once you have your scatter plot made, we need to get all of those typed into the calculator. Hey. All right, Brianna, we're on our last example, and luckily I'm recording it so you can. We've done this whole entire packet together. All right, so now I've worked so hard to get this. Now I got to adjust it so I can get this whole calculator in. It's not great. I just never thought in 12 years of teaching I would be so worried about the lighting in my classroom.
I don't even remember how to find the whatever the.
Okay, that's what we're going to go through it. I just wanted you to get it in your list.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go through the steps of doing that least squares regression line because I know it's been a while.
Do we need to write down the slope?
All right, so I'll tell you everything to write down in just a second. All right, so we are doing first the least squares regression line. So what are the options? What you guys tell me. If I want to calculate my least squares regression line, where do I go? All right, the first thing we do is we go to stat and we go to calculate,
Press enter a whole bunch.
and then we go to option 4. Now you have to ask yourself, did you put your X's in L1?
Yeah.
Your Y's in L2.
Yeah.
Now you can go down and hit calculate. And it should give you, wait, did I type in? I typed in the wrong one. Linear There we go. Do you have something that looks like this?
Yeah.
So we would write that the equation is y equals 2 point, do you guys say 83?
Yep.
83x plus 300.04. I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth on both of those. So that is the line of least regression. Now, it also says the correlation coefficient. Are we looking at R or R squared? All right, we are looking at R, and our R in this case is
6.2
point,
or 6.18.
I'd just go 618. All right, so we've answered both of those questions. Now, we are going to use our equation, and you can use your calculators. We are first going to predict the calories in a candy if it contained 80 grams of sugar. So we are actually going to plug 80 into the equation. But if it's 80 grams of sugar, are we plugging it in for X or Y? All right, X is our grams of sugar. So 80 is going in for X. So we have 2.83 times 80 plus 300.04. And then you guys can simply on your calculators plug that right in. And are you guys getting the same answer as me? 526.44? And what's my label there? All right, 526.44 calories. All right, now for the next part. It says predict the sugar content in grams of a candy that contains 390 calories. So where does this go in our equation? All right, that goes in for the y, and then we're going to solve for x. So this time we have 390 equals 2.83x plus 300.04. And so then I'm going to subtract 390 minus 300.04, and that gives me 89.96, and then divide by 2.83. What did you guys get for your calories? I got 31.79, and this is grams of sugar. And I will tell you guys, I got every single one of these questions from the Chapter 7 homework. So I would expect to see questions like this or these questions just with different numbers. I haven't decided if I'm going to do different questions or a little bit of both. No, and then tomorrow, guys, you do have a Frappy.
Carter McKee, please report to the guidance office.
And then Thursday, we're going to go over Chapter 8, which will be super short. Yes, if you guys want candy bars, you can buy them before you go.